It's always his or her opinion and not mine. Another identifying characteristic is that they can be very demanding. So narcissists will naturally pair up with people who have a martyr's attitude. They will get very angry. To an extent, it can get dangerous for you, and which leads us to another characteristic, that they can be abusive. You might want to understand your own psychological patterns and how those might be calling out to the narcissists around you and possibly exposing you, so that you understand now what about yourself you need to work on or correct, and that's where therapy comes in.
Hello, good afternoon from 254. My good name is Martha Soipan, and I'm welcoming you back to my YouTube channel. Karibu sana. You that is coming in for the first time, feel at home and feel welcome. You that are always coming in every time to consume my content, santi sana. Continue subscribing, liking, sharing, and also getting motivated. Every day we speak of a topic, we speak of any topic. You're always there, you ask questions, and I'm really appreciating whatever you do. Now today I am very honored and humble. As you can see behind me, I'm at Clarity Counseling Training Center, and the founder is going to talk more about this. But today we are here to talk about a very interesting topic. Take a pen and a notebook, because you have a lot to note down and a lot to learn from this amazing topic. And without any further introduction, allow me to welcome her. Kindly introduce yourself and let's go through our topic for today.
All right.
Yeah.
Hello everybody. My name is Jane Gashero. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession. I'm also the CEO and founder of Clarity Counseling and Training Center. So today I'm here with Martha. And Martha, I just want to welcome you to our center.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for gracing us. And I'm glad to be here with you today to talk about narcissists.
Thank you so much. That's a very nice introduction. Now I am so honored being also your student, and today I want us to talk about who is a narcissist, because I know most of us out there are either living with them, married with them, having any affairs or friendship with them, and they don't know them. First, let's start. Who is a narcissist?
So a narcissist is someone who is very self-absorbed, somebody who has a very high level of self-importance, that they think they are more important than others. You can say they feel entitled. So sometimes they feel entitled to an extent that they imagine that others should worship them or others should esteem them very highly. So that's the person that is called a narcissist. Their major identifying characteristic is that very high sense of self-importance. Yeah.
And now how can you tell this is a narcissist? Because most people don't even know and cannot define or cannot differentiate a narcissist and a person who is not also a narcissist.
That's very true, because a narcissist will not tell you outrightly that I feel I'm more important than you. However, their behavior will tell you. So for example, if you're in a relationship with a person who's narcissistic, most of the times they can be very dismissive. So that means they don't pay attention to the other person's needs, and they also don't pay attention to the other person's opinions. The real reason they will not is that because deep within them they actually think that other people's opinions or other people's needs are not as important as theirs. So which is why they will ignore the other person's needs or the other person's opinions. That's why sometimes you hear someone in a relationship probably saying that I don't feel heard or I feel oppressed. It's always his or her opinion and not mine. Another identifying characteristic is that they can be very demanding. Very demanding in terms of they want very high levels of attention. They want you to do what they want to do, what they want you to do when they want you to do it.
So it's like you don't have an opinion in whatever matter. It's the opinion come first.
Exactly.
What?
And their needs come first. So their demands will mostly be unrealistic, but because they tend to look unconsciously, they look for partners who have that need to want to appear to, let's say, to sacrifice. A person, we call that person a person who has a martyr attitude. There are people like that. So narcissists will naturally pair up with people who have a martyr's attitude, someone who is so self-giving, someone who always wants to stretch themselves thin for the sake of other people. And so they have very unrealistic demands, but you see who they pair up to, because this person is used to doing this, they don't see it as an unrealistic demand. They don't see it as a demand, in fact, until only when it's too late. That is when they actually start recognizing that there is something wrong with this, or another person will tell them. So that's the other characteristic. So like, for example, a narcissist will expect that maybe every time they go out, you should be seated somewhere awaiting their call. You know, this person has gone out, they are probably drinking, they left you in the house, but they demand that every time I call, you have to come pick me up from wherever I am. You know, and if you don't, there is rage. You know, there is the normal person who's just selfish, but the narcissist now will explode. That's the other characteristic. They are very explosive. Their anger is not just like a normal person's anger. They tend to get angry and get into a fit of rage that is most of the times explosive. You know, like the way, what's the fastest car you know?
Yeah, no, Mercedes.
So let's say a Mercedes, or I hear people say Ferrari. I don't know how much about cars, but say a Ferrari, you know, people will say it goes from 0 to maybe 100 or 180 very fast. So they're like that with their anger. And especially when you say no, when the other person starts to like stand up for themselves, or even to say no to their demands, they will get very angry. To an extent, it can get dangerous for you, and which leads us to another characteristic, that they can be abusive.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now, how do someone will ask, how do I handle such a person? Yeah.
With a narcissist, you can't afford to not have boundaries. So number one, you have to have very clear boundaries, healthy boundaries with this person, because narcissists are all about invading. I like to use this, I like to liken them to, you know, like the way we have vampires that people see on TV, we have what we call emotional vampires. A vampire feeds on blood. Well, that mythical creature, it feeds on blood to survive. A narcissist is someone who feeds on your emotional energy to survive. And so the more you give, the more you're feeding. It's like feeding a beast. So the more you give, the more you're feeding. So if you want to be safe with a narcissist, then you have to understand how to draw boundaries so that you stop feeding them on your energy. Because then as you feed, you're literally killing yourself. You're killing your spirit. That's how people who are victims of narcissistic abuse start to now lose their self-esteem. It's like you're slowly now, you know, like the way a flower withers. You're slowly withering. Yeah. Just like a flower withers when it doesn't have water. But it's really because you're busy watering the other person. So there has to be very keen boundaries, safe boundaries. You know how to stand up for yourself. Number two is to keep this person accountable. Most narcissists do not want to have to explain themselves or even to apologize. And that's how they tend to get away with abuse, because they make their victims think that it is okay for them to not apologize. In fact, they turn things around for you to look as though you are the one who's on the wrong because you're asking these questions. So for example, you will find most people who are dating narcissistic people, even when this person cheats, they don't want you to ask questions. So they will get into a fit of, a fit of rage when you ask questions. They will refuse to apologize. They will make you think it is your fault. But all the same, if you're with such a person, you need to learn to ask those difficult questions and to stay the course, and to actually now be very firm in asking this person to be accountable in that relationship, because that's what now fuels them if you don't get them to be accountable. Number three is that some people actually, some people need to understand why they find themselves dating narcissists. And I think I'm focusing a lot on dating, but I'll also go into maybe narcissistic people, like a narcissistic parent. Okay. If you find yourself dating a narcissist, you might want to also understand, what is this about me that calls literally calls a narcissist or attracts a narcissist to me, because most of the times when you analyze relationships, you'll get to understand that people basically get into relationships. It's like it's like a, like a padlock.
Yeah.
There are people who fit into each other, but in a psychologically dysfunctional way, a psychologically sick way. You remember, like the way I was telling you that the narcissist is likely to seek out someone who's passive. The people who are, and there's a way that society tends to say, nice people, understanding people.
Yeah.
And so if you try and
down to earth,
you're not a bother. They like such. So you might want to understand your own psychological patterns and how those might be calling out to the narcissists around you and possibly exposing you, so that you understand now what about yourself you need to work on or correct, and that's where therapy comes in. And then also it's very important when you're dealing with a narcissist to understand how you reward their behavior, because it's possible to reward somebody's bad behavior and yet sometimes not even see that you reward it. For example, if I insult you, and every time I insult you, you cry. I mean, this happens even in the office. If you have this boss who is in the habit of yelling at people, screaming at people, how come he doesn't yell and scream at everybody?
Yeah, he always picks on one person.
Exactly. So what is it about this person that makes him to pick on this particular person? When you investigate, you might find that maybe this person, whenever they are insulted, whenever this person maybe does something wrong to them, they maybe shrink back, they will cry, they actually start feeling guilty for something they did not do. That is exactly what the narcissist is looking for. So your response becomes a reward for them. It's like even with if you look at narcissistic parents, there's usually always a child they pick out on. They pick on.
True, yeah.
They will not always behave like that with all the children. There will always be maybe a child or two whom they pick on and they target them. Why? Most of the times when I'm doing client work and I ask my client maybe who's been a victim of such things, how maybe their other siblings will respond to the narcissistic parent, you see a very huge difference. Like maybe one of my clients will tell me, oh, if my mother tries to do that with my brothers, they just walk away. There is the answer. They don't entertain it.
Wow.
You shrink back, you cry, you actually fall for their manipulation, because narcissists are actually very manipulative. So if you have a narcissistic parent who is always threatening to curse you if you don't build them a house or if you don't give them, I don't know, 100,000 per month.
I think that is really happening a lot in the society that you're living today.
Exactly, because that's abusive behavior. It's emotionally abusive. A parent who gaslights you, and then you're constantly the one who is now trying to make them happy and comfortable. Of course they are going to direct all their energies towards you. So unless you understand how you reward the narcissist in your life and you stop it, you stop rewarding them, then the pattern can only continue and continue and continue.
And now a lot of people I know, now that today we've talked about how to defend yourself or how to prevent that person of taking advantage of you, if you don't do that, a lot of people will ask what else will lead to, because I know some have always endured and being in that relationship, you're being warned, you don't want to go or you don't want to quit or don't want to leave. Maybe they should at least get to know what are the consequences later.
That's a very good question. One, I've never met a person who survives narcissistic abuse without paying a price with their self-esteem. Most people who have gone through narcissistic relationships, whether it's with parents or with even workmates, even with friends, or even dating partners or marriages, most of them have a very low or poor sense of self-esteem. So that's one of the ways that's how you begin to see the effects of such narcissistic relationships. Two is self-doubt. There are people who even in their adult life, they will keep on second-guessing themselves. And it gets so bad to the extent that everything they do, they want to ask another person for their opinion.
Yeah, am I right? Am I doing right?
Did I told this person this yesterday. Do you think it was wrong? Should I have said something maybe better? Or how do I go about this? And sometimes I get even my clients telling me, you know, sometimes I go to send a message and I will delete that message like 5 times or 10 times, you know, because
you're always doubting yourself.
Exactly.
You don't have that self-confidence.
And especially when it comes to maybe you want to communicate in a manner that maybe you're confronting somebody about something they did, or even you want to resolve a conflict. You cannot, because you don't even trust yourself in the first place. And so that's the other thing. People lose themselves. You lose your identity. You don't know who you are, you know. And so most of the times, it's not because the real you is not within you, but because of, you know, most of the times narcissists will really work on you to not have an opinion. Even narcissistic parents are like that. They will work on you to not have an opinion. And so what happens is that eventually, you know, I always like to say that within all of us, there is usually, I like to call it a voice. There is usually that voice that tells you which way to go, what decisions to make.
The inner voice.
The inner voice.
Yeah.
And most of the times, even when you're in dangerous situations or doing something that you shouldn't be doing, it will always sound an alarm or a warning. Unfortunately, for people who have lost their identity or who have lost themselves, they will keep on dismissing that voice. Even in this relationship, this voice was telling them, no, this is abuse. You need to walk away. But they were dismissing, ignoring, you know. Even with their friends, most of the time, they will hear that voice. They will dismiss it. And so eventually, you see it spreading to all areas of your life. Because that's the thing with mental health. You cannot say that, you know, my mental health only affects one aspect of my life. If it shows in relationships, most probably it will also show up at work. In terms of lack of productivity, procrastination, you know, indecisiveness. There are people who are very indecisive. If you ask them to make a decision, they will run because now they feel like you're harassing them. So that's the other effect. The self-doubt and the loss of self. The loss of an identity. Let me also expound on the loss of identity to an extent that you become very dependent, emotionally dependent on other people. And most of the times you will find that someone who's coming from a narcissistic relationship has gotten used to the other person defining them, telling them what they are and what they are not. You know, because that's how narcissists work. They want to keep you hooked, you know, so they will tell you things like you're nothing without me.
Oh yeah, you can't do this because you need my help.
Exactly. If you leave,
where will you go?
Who do you think will take you? You know?
You're not even beautiful. You're not worth it.
Exactly. You see, they are doing that because they need you to be in a place where you are totally dependent on them, so that you can't go anywhere. And so they have found their victim, so they can continue feeding.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah.
So this person eventually will find themselves in a situation where they are so confused. And so how they know how to relate with other people, even beyond the narcissistic relationship. And if I may use even an example of parenting, most people with narcissistic parents will become very emotionally dependent even on other people in their lives. That's why you see people with a history of disastrous relationships.
Yeah.
Most of the times it starts from their upbringing.
How you are brought up by your parents.
Exactly. If one of your parents was narcissistic in any way, you're likely to also seek out such relationships because that's the comfort you know. But the other reason why you will seek out such relationships is that now you grow to be very emotionally dependent. Like another person has to keep on validating you, telling you you're beautiful, telling you you're capable of this. And unless they do that, you cannot move. You cannot make decisions for your own sake.
And you know that is so bad, I can imagine.
Exactly. So they tend to get into relationships where the other person decides for them what is good for them. So if the other person decides, maybe it's in a marriage and they decide I'm marrying a second wife,
you're just there, you're not
okay.
move.
You're waiting for the day, or they have decided they're having other partners. You are just there. You're waiting for the day now they will have mercy on you. A narcissist has no mercy. That's the other characteristic. They lack empathy. So you are just seated there waiting for the day that they now empathize with you and see how you are suffering and come back. They won't.
And they will never.
They will never. In fact, they enjoy the pain. I remember there's even a client who once, told me that she was being abused, and then when she tried to now make the other person see sense, the other person, they were like, it wouldn't. I mean, what was it was someone who, in fact, it wasn't even a client. Someone was being cheated on, and then this guy would not even hide what he was doing, and so at some point she asked him, how come, why is it that you want to like make me know what you're doing, like you're not even hiding, and he asked her, where will the fun be?
What?
Yeah.
So he will, that person will just make sure he or she frustrates you.
Exactly. How fun will it be unless
and just like you said, and like when we were starting the topic, it's this. I think this is something that is happening so commonly nowadays in the society that we are living. Not only the young generation, even most of us are in marriages, and they cannot define the person they are married to. And I'm so happy, because by the time someone is watching this video, they will come to understand what kind of the person they are, and how to deal with the person they are with. And I know most of them will want to even come for counseling, because I know by the time you make a decision to move out and just be on your own, it's not an easy thing. You have to have the will. And I know most of my viewers are also, people will want to know, where can we find a place that we can be counseled? And just before we wind up, because I know this topic is very long, and I'm sure we'll come for more and more and more. And just before we wind up, I want to give you an opportunity as you wind up a bit about Narcissist. Just tell us more about Clarity, and tell us how we can find you, what you offer, and maybe if it's possible your charges for someone, and how can people get to you.
So Clarity Counseling and Training Center is a counseling center and a training center, just as the name reads. We are located at CBD Utalii House, 3rd floor. And so Clarity has 3 areas of business. We focus on counseling, we do consulting, and we also do training. So when it comes to counseling, we basically see people when they have relationship issues. So that means we have couple counseling, we have marriage and family counseling. We also do individual counseling. So if you have a problem that you've been struggling with by yourself, then you can come and see us for that. And we also do group counseling as well. So in group counseling, we basically counsel people who are struggling with similar issues. So we form groups, some of which are support groups, some of which are therapy groups. For example, we have groups for loss, we have groups for people who are survivors of rape, we have groups for people who are survivors of gender-based violence. And then in training, we also train quite a number of courses. So our training is very closely linked to consultancy, because when it comes to consultancy, we do training as well. We train corporates, we also do train individuals. And we also offer what we call employee assistance programs. So in employee assistance programs, it's where we come to your workplace and then we design or tailor make a program for you that includes counseling and includes training, sometimes even mentorship. So they are basically things that are, and even assessment, they are meant to help you to understand yourself in the context of not only work, but even how you function as an individual. So our consulting arm covers those areas. So under consulting, we also outsource counselors. So if you are an employer and you're looking to have your employees' mental health taken care of, we outsource counselors. So that means they remain our employees, because there is of course the need to separate counselors from the people who are working under your umbrella. They remain our employees, but then they can come and see your employees right there at your workplace. You just need to provide room for them. And then now the training arm, we provide a number of short courses, some of which are tailor-made. We actually do this on a monthly basis. So every month we have courses running, about 2 courses running. We as well tailor-make programs for people, especially in corporate settings or even groups of people. Like if you have a chama and you would want a training, maybe you want to cover issues to do with mental health. So for those ladies, you have those chamas, you can invite us, and then we can come for a needs assessment for us to understand what are some of the areas that you would want us to cover or the needs that group has, and then we can go ahead and tailor-make a course for you. So we also collaborate with various institutions where we offer certificate courses and diploma courses under the umbrella of those institutions. Yeah, and basically that's what we do. How to reach us? You can visit us at Utalii House, 3rd floor, Nairobi CBD. You can also reach us via our phone numbers. Our landline is 011 444, that is 444s, and then 300. Our second landline is 011 4444, that is 44s, and then 299. You can also reach me on my personal line, 0724 590 395.
Now let's talk about if someone is outside the country, the diaspora people, how will they find you?
Perfect. Actually, it's interesting because since COVID started, we've been seeing a lot of diaspora clients.
Okay.
And I think how they located us is because on our website, we actually have indicated that we see diaspora clients. And so they can just reach us via WhatsApp. Most, I think, prefer to chat. So we have our WhatsApp line, 0101 515 101.
Wow.
Yeah.
So through that, anyone in diaspora can reach out to you.
Yes.
And you can just do your Zoom counseling and online counseling.
Yes.
And you get your client feels okay. Wow, thank you so much. I didn't know that. I was actually asking randomly because I know we might get messages from diaspora people and maybe they're not able to come and there's something killing them there and they need someone to talk it out.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that even diaspora people, they don't feel obligated, they can still find you. Do you like offer any courses for diaspora people?
Yes, the beauty of that is that our services are online. And so apart from just therapy, which they can do both as an individual, even as a couple, we've been doing couple counseling for people in the diaspora.
Okay.
Because we will still charge them fairly. I understand therapy there is very expensive. Therapy services are very expensive. So we do it, we do both counseling and training online. Most of our courses that run on a monthly basis are actually virtual. And the good thing is that they are geared to help people to become more self-aware and to even improve their functioning and their mental health. So anyone can basically be able to attend. I mean, why struggle when you can actually access, either a training program or you can access therapy online.
Okay. Oh, that's nice. Thank you so much for your time. I feel very honored because we have tackled a topic that really a lot of people are suffering from, and I'm sure by the end of this video a lot of people will have learned. And to you, my viewer, I want to say a big thank you so much for always creating time to consume our content and always subscribing, commenting and sharing. Thank you so much. Continue doing the same. I don't take this for granted. Until next time, shalom and God bless.